it's me, Fluffy Seal 123, and I'm just gonna jump right into it. Today we're going to be doing another audiobook reaction video. Well, again, it's gonna be Howl's Moving Minutes. We'll stop, as usual. And so, yeah, let me just get it started.
So, that's settled then, Fanny said.
All right, here we go.
The next day, Sophie helped Martha pack her clothes in a box.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And the morning after that, they all saw her off on the carrier's cart, looking small and upright and nervous.
Have a great trip.
For the way to Upper Folding, where Mrs. Fairfax lived, lay over the hills past Wizard Howl's moving castle.
That sounds
Martha
a bit dangerous, don't you guys think?
Scared. She'll be all right, said Letty. Letty refused all help with the packing. When the carrier's cart was out of sight, Letty crammed all her possessions into a pillowcase and paid the neighbour's boot boy sixpence to wheel it in a wheelbarrow to Chisaris in Market Square. Letty marched behind the wheelbarrow looking much more cheerful than Sophie expected. Indeed, she had the air of shaking the dust of the hat shop off her feet. The boot boy brought back a scribbled note from Letty, saying she had put her things in the girls' dormitory and Chisaris seemed great fun. A week later, the carrier brought a letter from Martha to say that Martha had arrived safely and that
I was getting a little bit worried there because, Martha, like right next to the whole place, with Howl's Moving Castle, like, that would have been kind of dangerous.
That was all Sophie heard of her sisters for quite a while, because she started her own apprenticeship the day Martha and Letty left.
Oh, that's nice.
Sophie, of course, knew the hat trade quite well already. Since she was a tiny child, she had run in and out of a big work shed across the yard, where
She's someone who knows what they're doing, right?
On blocks, and flowers and fruit and other trimmings were made from wax and silk. She knew the people who worked there. Most of them had been there when her father was a boy. She knew Bessie, the only remaining shop assistant. She knew the customers who bought the hats, and the man who drove the cart, which fetched raw straw hats in from the country to be shaped on the blocks in the shed.
Yeah, that's very nice
She knew the
of all
other
these
suppliers and how you made felt for winter hats. There was not really much that Fanny could teach her, except perhaps the best way to get a customer to buy a hat.
How do you do that?
Up to the right hat, love, Fanny said. Show them the ones that won't quite do first, so they know the difference as soon as they put the right one on. In fact, Sophie did not sell hats very much. After a day or so observing in the work shed, and another day going round the clothier and the silk merchants with Fanny, Fanny set her to trimming hats. Sophie sat in a small alcove at the back of the shop, sewing roses to bonnets and veiling to velours, lining all of them with silk, and arranging wax fruit and ribbons stylishly on the outsides. She was good at it. She
sounds like beautiful hats, right?
But she felt isolated.
Like, I want to go to this hat shop.
The workshop people were too old to be much fun. Besides, they treated her as someone apart who was going to inherit the business someday. Bessie treated
so I guess
her
not
the same
many
way.
friends.
Bessie's only talk anyway was about the farmer she was going to marry the week after May Day.
Yeah, then that's so sweet.
Sophie
it's nice to know that, she's found somebody
to bargain with the silk merchant whenever she wanted. The most interesting thing was the talk from the customers. Nobody can buy a hat without gossiping. Sophie sat in her alcove and stitched, and heard that the mayor never would eat green vegetables, and that Wizard Howl's castle had moved round to the cliffs again. Really, that man, whisper, whisper, whisper. The voices always dropped low when they talked to Wizard Howl, but Sophie gathered that he had caught a girl down the valley last month. Bluebeard, said the whispers, and then became voices again to say that Jane Farrier was a perfect disgrace the way she did her hair.
Oh my gosh!
Would never attract even Wizard Howl.
I wonder what she did with it to be so disgraceful.
Then there would be a fleeting, fearful whisper about the Witch of the Waste. Sophie began to feel that Wizard Howl and the Witch of the Waste should get together. They seemed to be made for one another.
Oh my gosh.
Someone ought to arrange a match, she remarked to the hat she was trimming at that moment. But by the end of the month,
She sounds a
The
bit
gossip
crazy
in the
if she's
shop was
talking to
suddenly
hats.
all about Letty. Chisaris, it seemed, was packed with gentlemen from morning to night, each one buying quantities of cakes and demanding
Looks
to
like
be served
somebody
by
is
Letty.
good for business.
She had had 10 proposals of marriage,
Mm-hmm.
ranging in quality from the mayor's son to the lad who swept the streets. And she had refused them all, saying she was too young to make up her mind yet.
Ah, smart girl, smart
I
girl.
call that sensible of her, Sophie said to a bonnet she was pleating silk into. Fanny was pleased with this news. I knew she'd be all right, she said happily. It occurred to Sophie that Fanny was glad Letty was no longer around. Letty's bad for custom, she told the bonnet, pleating away at mushroom-coloured silk. She would make even you look glamorous, you dowdy old thing. Other ladies look at Letty in despair. Sophie talked to hats more and more as weeks went by. There was no one else much to talk to.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Fanny
Not
was
many
out
people like her.
bargaining or trying to whip up custom much of the day, and Bessie was busy serving and telling everyone her wedding plans.
No.
Sophie got into the habit of putting each hat where it sat, looking almost like a head without a body, and pausing while she told the hat what the body under it ought to be like.
That sounds like
She
fun.
flattered the hats a bit, because you should flatter customers.
Yeah,
You
makes sense.
have mysterious allure, she told one that was all veiling with hidden twinkles.
Ooh,
To a wide,
that does
creamy
sound
hat with
pretty
roses
cool.
under the brim, she said, "You are going to have to marry money." And to a caterpillar green straw with a curly green feather, she said,
Aw.
"You are young as a spring leaf." She told
Oh
pink
my
bonnets
gosh,
they
that
had
sounds
dimpled charm, and
adorable.
smart hats
I want
trimmed
that
with
little
velvet
hat.
they
That
were
sounds
witty. She
absolutely
told the
adorable and
mushroom-pleated
cute.
bonnet, "You have a heart of gold, and someone in a high position will see it and fall in love with you."
Aw.
This was because she was sorry for that particular bonnet. It looked so fussy and plain. Jane
Poor
Farrier
hat.
came into the shop next day
Well,
and
still, I bet
bought
it will
it.
be beautiful.
Her hair did look a little strange, Sophie thought, peeping out of her alcove, as if Jane had wound it round a row of pokers. It seemed a pity she had chosen that bonnet. But everyone seemed to be buying hats and bonnets around then. Maybe it was Fanny's
It's in
sales
style.
talk, or maybe it was spring coming on. But the hat trade was definitely picking up.
That's nice, that's nice.
Fanny began to say a little guiltily, "I think I shouldn't have been in such a hurry to get Martha and Letty placed out. At this rate, we might have
sense.
managed." There was so much custom as April drew on toward May Day
Oh,
that
shoot.
Sophie had to put on a demure grey dress.
1 second,
and
guys. I
help in
forgot
the
to put
shop
it on the
too.
timer.
But such was the demand that she was hard at trimming hats in between customers, and every evening she took them next door to the house, where she worked by lamplight far into the night in
Very
order
nice.
to have hats to sell the next
We'll
day.
give it 6 minutes.
Caterpillar green hats
There we
like
go.
the one the mayor's wife had were much called for, and so were pink bonnets. Then, the week before May Day, someone came in and asked for one with mushroom pleats, like the one Jane Farrier had been wearing when she ran off with the Count of Cataract.
Oh
That
my
night, as she
gosh!
sewed,
What?
Sophie admitted to herself that her life was rather dull.
Sounds
Instead of talking
interesting.
to the hats, she tried each one on as she finished it and looked in the mirror. This was a mistake. The staid grey dress did not suit Sophie, particularly when her eyes were red-rimmed with sewing. And since her hair was a reddish straw colour, neither did caterpillar green nor pink. The one with mushroom pleats simply made her look dreary. "Like an old maid," said Sophie. Not that she wanted to race off with counts like Jane Farrier, or
Yeah,
even
makes
fancied
sense. I
half
don't
the
think I
town
would either.
offering her marriage like Letty. But she wanted to do something.
Yeah.
She was not sure what, that had a bit more interest to it than simply trimming hats. She thought she would find time next day to go and talk to Letty. But she didn't go. Either she couldn't find the time, or she couldn't find the energy. Or it seemed a great distance to Market Square. Or she remembered that on her own she was in danger from Wizard Howl. Anyway, Every day it seemed more difficult to go and see her sister.
Aw,
It
I
was
know the
very
feeling.
odd. Sophie had always
It's
thought
more
she
like
was
friends for
nearly
me,
as
though.
strong-minded as Letty. Now she was finding that there were some things she could only do when there were no excuses left. This is absurd, Sophie said. Market Square is only 2 streets away. If I run... And she swore to herself she would go round to Cesari's when the hat shop was closed for May Day.
Okay. Yeah.
Meanwhile,
smart
a
plan.
new piece of gossip came into the shop. The king had quarrelled with his own brother, Prince Justin, it was said.
Well, I mean, it's not normal. It's normal for, brothers to fight.
Nobody quite knew the reason for the quarrel, but the prince had actually come through market chipping in disguise a couple of months back, and nobody had known. The Count of Cataract had been sent by the king to look for the prince, when he happened to meet Jane Farrier instead. Sophie listened and felt sad. Interesting things did seem to happen, but always to somebody else. Still, it would be nice to see Letty.
Oh.
May Day came. Merrymaking filled the streets from dawn onward. Fanny went out early, but Sophie had a couple of hats to finish first.
Oh. Yeah.
Sophie sang as she worked. After all, Letty was working too. Cesari's was open till midnight on holidays.
Wow.
I shall buy one of their cream cakes, Sophie decided. I haven't had one for ages.
Cream cake is good.
She watched
So at
people
least it sounds
crowding
good.
past the window in all kinds of bright clothes. People selling souvenirs, people walking on stilts, and felt really excited.
Ooh, a parade,
But
you
when
say?
she'd last put a grey shawl over her grey dress and went out into the street, Sophie did not feel excited. She felt overwhelmed. There were too many people rushing past, laughing and shouting, far too much noise and jostling. Sophie felt as if the past months of sitting and sewing had turned her into an old woman or a semi-invalid.
Oh.
She gathered her shawl round her and crept along close to the houses, trying to avoid being trodden on by people's best shoes or being jabbed by elbows in trailing silk sleeves.
Ooh, does not sound very comfortable, does it?
Bangs from overhead somewhere, Sophie thought she was going to faint. She looked up and saw Wizard Howl's castle right down on the hillside above the town, so near it seemed to be sitting on the chimneys. Blue flames were shooting out of all 4 of the castle's turrets, bringing balls of blue fire with them that exploded high in the sky, quite horrendously. Wizard Howl seemed to be offended by May Day. Or maybe he was trying to join in his own fashion.
That's kind of cute.
Sophie was too terrified to care. She would have gone home, except that she was halfway to Cesari's by then. So she ran. What made me think I wanted life to be interesting? She asked as she ran. I'd be far too scared. It comes of being the eldest of 3. Yeah. When she reached Market Square, it was worse, if possible.
Yeah, of course, they're all after Letty on a special day. And the cakes, too.
Young men swaggered beerily to and fro, trailing cloaks and long sleeves, and stamping buckled boots they would never have dreamed of wearing on a working day, calling loud remarks and accosting girls. The girls strolled in fine pairs, ready to be accosted. It was perfectly normal for May Day, but Sophie was scared of that too. And when a young man in a fantastical blue and silver costume spotted Sophie and decided to accost her as well, Sophie shrank into a shop doorway and tried to hide.
Not sounding very much
like fun. The young man looked at her in surprise. It's all right, you little grey mouse, he said, laughing rather pityingly. I only want to buy you a drink. Don't look so scared.
I'm gonna be scared.
Look made
Sorry.
Sophie utterly ashamed. He was such a dashing specimen, too, with a bony, sophisticated face, really quite old, well into his 20s, and elaborate blonde hair.
Like, Sophie's like 17, right?
Any in the square, all scalloped edges and silver
it's fading away. Okay, guys, I guess that's it for today's episode. Sounds like it's getting pretty interesting in the book, don't you guys think? Yeah, I cannot wait for next time. So yeah, bye everybody, and back to you, Bob.